when I was introduced to Tai Chi from my teacher, he was talking about how Tai Chi came together as an amalgamation from Kung Fu and meditation and Qigong in terms of skills in using energy. And that Qigong underpins the Tai Chi. You've got the martial aspect, the mind, spiritual aspect of cultivation. And then you've got the energy aspect of building energy, directing energy, expanding energy, and getting energy to flow. Without the Qigong, it's Kung Fu, but with no internal aspect. And it's mind without the energy. So the energy fuels and underpins all the parts of the Tai Chi work.
So it's the three bits that are working together in your tradition that's the important piece.
Yeah, the Jing, Qi, and Shen. Without the Qi, then yes, you can work with the body, but it's not really integrating. So if we want to integrate, harmonize, and unify, it has to have the Qi. Otherwise, it's just form or mind.
Yeah.
So I had an idea, or what came through one of my teachers was he explained, or he rather humorously suggested, that Tai Chi is the most popular form of Qigong. In that, because it has Qigong underpinning it, it is a natural expression of energy work. So we could also then maybe say that there are other more popular forms of Qigong that have got Qigong as an underpin, but they call themselves something different. So I find this fascinating, that we come back to this foundational root, that's what the Qigong gives any practice at all, in my humble opinion. And so as Qigong players and teachers and advocates, to be able to have this in your toolkit at any stage is going to help underpin everything else in your life. So what we're doing, this difference between Qigong and Tai Chi, we're actually just looked at the similarities of them and also embraced the differences, which is what Wan Chi is all about. And we keep coming back to this. Look at what's similar and look at what's different, because there's qualities in all of it. So I also love the fact that Tai Chi has got this dance-like quality in it. And there's that movement, and there's the martial aspect. And when you're learning, this bit's the various parts of it that have actually got, if you do them speeded up, they can be deadly. That fascinates me. Whereas you don't get any of that in Qigong. You'll be cultivating the inner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've only got very limited experience of Tai Chi, and apart from doing a couple of fairly basic types of classes with people who were teaching it as a really just as a movement practice, and I think there is great benefit in just having the movement practice. I then spent some time with a teacher from Taiwan who I can still remember him saying, unless you can kill somebody in 2 movements in Tai Chi, you're not even a beginner. And I was going, whoa, steady on, but his position on it was that the Tai Chi in its traditional format is a very advanced martial art. And the westernization that has happened around it means that it's become a far bigger thing than it originally was, and it's sort of embraced a whole load of other practices. And I think that was underlined. There was a conversation I had a couple of 3 weeks ago with a group in America, and I asked them why they focus on Tai Chi for health, and they talk about Qigong, but they don't talk about Qigong for health. And the reply came back basically, Qigong isn't that well branded. People aren't aware of it, and quite a lot of people who are aware of it are aware of the slightly wackier and more odd practices that may sit within it, whereas Tai Chi is a far more accepted term. And I can't help wondering, and I'm talking off the top of my head here, I can't help wondering whether what's happened is there's been a dilution of Qigong, a dilution of Taiji in the westernization of it. And that dilution has somehow blocked out some of the space that Qigong would traditionally sit in.
Oh, this is so very
Interesting, isn't it? Really, with that. I mean, if you look at how yoga got popularized, yes, how meditation and mindfulness has become popularized, and Kung Fu became popularized because of the Kung Fu movies. And when you talk about the energy aspect, the sort of the wacky part was if you go into the 70s Kung Fu movies, and especially like the internal arts, had to be somebody doing something mystical and wonderful, like flying or moving objects with their mind. And so the energy Qigong aspect became this mysticism, this untouchable by ordinary people. And then you'd have a lot of the movies of the Tai Chi movies, which showed the Kung Fu aspect of the Tai Chi, the marvel and the fluidity of Tai Chi. So it became popularized through the screens. Qigong hasn't had that aspect of it in terms of the movies or the movement behind it, but the movement of Tai Chi, as I understand it, and I could be wrong here, was a purposeful movement in order to bring about something that was widely acceptable to the populace that they could do in order to bring about health benefits. And then it became very well documented as well. So when we talk about has it been diluted, well, we could look at it, has it changed in a way that's become more accessible for the populace?
Exactly.
Is it the same as it was already done in the early days? No. If we think about the originator of Tai Chi, Jansan Feng, a Shaolin master, height of his level, height of meditation, height of energy skill, master at these three levels. Is that accessible to most people in every day? No. What do they want? We want to be a bit more flexible. We want to have functional mobility. We want to have a bit more balance, emotional balance, physical balance, mental balance. This energy thing, that wasn't really there. So they didn't need it. Let the weird and wonderful people do that. Stick to this stuff that's safe. And that safety became well documented. And now it's become this huge branch that it can sometimes be thought, you think about Tai Chi, lots of people doing slow movement in the park. And so it's a beautiful part of Tai Chi that has no doubt, I think there's no question that it's helped an immense amount of people. But what has been lost are two important aspects to bring the reality to it, which is the martial, and the energy spiritual aspect. That's what it was aimed at, first of all. And the Qigong, which is not as popular because it hasn't had that drive, works in a way of the emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, energetic balance. But people don't really know about it. As you say, John, it's like gone out there as like this weird thing. And what's maybe sometimes misunderstood or lost is how the Qigong has become practical in everyday life. How can you use it?
So juicy. So from this idea of rather than the word dilution, maybe more Western adoption. We've adopted the parts that make sense for our culture, and that's not wrong. It's just making it relevant to our civilization. But as you're saying, maybe aspects of it have got lost, or maybe they haven't been ready for it yet. Or it's great that there's something in the background kind of come through. But as you were speaking there, Tim, I was feeling it was that with Qigong, it's subtler. It's the subtle arts, and it feels more yin. So, and the yin tends to be quieter. You don't shout about it. You don't tell everybody, this wonderful internal alchemy meditation. Oh my goodness, you should go there, because that's just not how it is in Qigong. Your experience is yours. And there's that word experience. If we can offer people an experience that is tangible to them of how it feels to de-stress their system, drop into the autonomic and into their breathing, recognize the support of the earth, soften in. There we go into the yin, into the qi, into the power of that space. And I feel that with Tai Chi, you can see what's happening. As you say, in the park, you can watch people, you can lock onto that and go, oh, that's Tai Chi, isn't it? But when it's something internal, for instance, when you're standing in Wuji, it's one of the most powerful places to explore, and it will challenge you. But no one can see or discern. They just think you're standing there looking at the trees, which you are as well. But do you know what I mean? So I think that's probably why it's got a bit lost in translation. And in a way, how exciting is it that Tai Chi has been taken up because of all the levels and layers that it is offering? And in the background, it's like it's paving the way for Qigong to come through and deepen the Tai Chi practice.
There's a weird flip that sits within this as well. When I first studied out in China, it was 2010, and at that point, it's fair to say that Qigong was still frowned upon. It was illegal, and when the police turned up, when the army turned up, we had to pretend to be tourists. It was one of those types of situations. And soon after that, I was talking to one of the teachers at there was a conference a couple of years later I went to in China, and he was insistent that he didn't do Qigong, he did Tai Chi. And I was having this conversation with him about it, and he actually turned around and said, yeah, the thing is that for many years Qigong has been illegal in China, so therefore I practice Tai Chi because Tai Chi is not illegal. But actually I'm practicing Qigong, but it just looks like Tai Chi. And you wonder how much of that influence has come through as well.
Oh, John, I'm glad you went there. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, do I go there with that? And I remember the stories on about like the red boats in China, and they would have the opera would go on the red boats, and they would do these amazing musicals and movements and dance, and they were there, as I understand it, against the government. Yeah. And so within the sort of the music and the performance, they would hide kung fu. So somebody would come along and they'd say, I'd like to learn the Wing Chun kung fu, and they were not allowed to learn the kung fu. He said, don't worry, I'll hide the movement. I'll hide the movement in the dance. Look out for this particular part. And they would hide like a no shadow kick within the performance. So we're not used to that here so much in the West, are we? To hide what it is that we're shown. Here we are, okay, in a place where we are freely talking on the internet about a time that we haven't been born into, a land that we haven't been born into, but traditions that we've been passed to openly, with open heart, with open mind. Yeah. To say, look, take these things, yeah, use these things and help others with these things. Yeah. But we don't have to hide. So we don't have to hide behind it. We don't have to worry about the police turning up at our doors now. Because we're talking about Qigong or talking about energy work. What we've, I think, been so lucky to have, all of us, because we're all from different systems, is teachers that openly passed us things that in the past people have died for. And I don't think we can forget that through our ease, through our transformation, has come tremendous struggle. Through other people's struggle has come a teaching that we are now openly able to share, yeah, without the judgment that came before, that we can openly pass this on to other people that want to listen, to other people that want to practice something that is thousands of years old, but the practice doesn't come with judgment. Only people judge, yeah, not the practice.
The Qi cannot either. And I just got a sense there, what would happen if we took the names Tai Chi and Qigong, and if we just took those names away, what are we left with? Energy practice, energy play, or a feeling, a sense of moving with the energy. Could it be that simple?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
these are all great questions. I think that when we look at this relationship between Taiji and Qigong, when we look at the relationship between all of these practices, there's this feeling that the division that we put, the way that we tend to view things as Westerners, where we want to classify, where we want to put things in boxes, as I say, this one's better than this one, and this one's more effective than this one in this situation, and oh, what do I do now? Oh, I need to look through my box of tricks and go, oh, it's this one. It's overcomplication of something that is fundamentally far more simple. And I think that when we look beyond the labels, we find something that's, as you've said, Clara, and well, I think as we're all pointing to, there's something very, very powerful at the core of this. And it seems a bit silly to get caught up in the my dad's bigger than your dad types of conversations about this system or that system, or do you call it Taiji, or do you call it Qigong? Yeah, I think there's that feeling. Oh, I'm just going to drop one in just to sort of draw the Tai Chi Qigong conversation to a close. And I'm sure that Tim and Clara have both heard this before, so please can you remain looking interested. And it was when we ran a retreat about 9 years ago, and we'd got these teachers over from China. And it was the first time they'd taught outside of China. And somebody had come over from New Zealand in order to join the retreat. And they were a student of a teacher who said he'd developed something that was better than my particular chosen form of Qigong. And the question was asked of the teacher, what do you think of somebody who says they've developed something that's better than Jineng Qigong? And there was the briefest pause, and he looked and he smiled and he said, all Qigong leads to oneness. How can any system be better than any other system in oneness? Yeah, that really feels so spot on when we look at these differences and these labels to me.
Yeah, I think it's well put, John. And I think the thing to remember as well is Tai Chi wasn't called Tai Chi. Qigong wasn't called Qigong. These are just convenient terms that have come.